Are the portals too powerful in estate agency? Today, I'm joined by Rupert Collingwood, who is an estate agency broker from London. Thank you for joining me today,
Pleasure.
Rupert. You said to me before you switched the cameras on, you believed that the portals are too powerful. Why is that? Talk to me.
Well, where do we start? I think it's a pretty established fact now that particularly one of the portals is too powerful, and we'll come on to that, I think, in due course. But let's discuss, first of all, what the portals have actually done to the industry. In my humble opinion, the industry has the tail has wagged the dog. So the portals and their rules as suppliers and engagement with the industry has formed the shape of the industry that we now see today. So, for example, we all have to understand about, if I change the price, is that changing when the listing, or how the listing is displayed? How long do I have to leave the property off the portal? If I bring on another agent, there are all of these different rules and regs and sort of bits and pieces. And but moreover, the creation of an online shopping place for property has removed quite significantly, in my opinion, the ability of an estate agent to accurately and meaningfully do their job without um, without the buyer feeling that they are being impinged upon. Because in today's society, we're all used to getting out our phones and ordering whatever it is we want or buying whatever it is we want like that without any questions. I can go and do that because that's the egalitarian and, e-commerce world that we live in. I think that there should be a realization that that isn't the same when you're an adult and you're buying a house. You're not buying a shirt or a dress from Next. And what that has done is agents now, particularly younger agents, and those agents who perhaps have got large market share in their local area, are entirely focused on how many viewings they've done, not the quality of those viewings. And the vendor is still in a mindset where the success of the agent is entirely, or how good that agent is over the course of that relationship is entirely predicated on how many viewings that agent does in that period of time. Yet that is not, in real terms, the mark of a successful agent. A super successful agent, in my humble opinion, might be somebody who does one viewing without putting it on the portals because they knew the person who was ready to buy the house and they made that phone call and the viewing was done. And the deal was done. So the creation of the portals has in and of itself altered the behaviors of agents, but also it's altered the behaviors and understandings of the industry by the buyer, because the buyer now believes that they can press a button on their iPad in bed at 11 o'clock at night, request to do a viewing at 6 o'clock the following day. We get regular circumstances where somebody say, don't call me, I'm busy during the day, you know. So the agent keen to get their KPIs up for that next day or following week books in the viewing. They don't qualify the buyer. They're not asking questions about how long have you been looking, what's your budget, are you ready to buy, what's your chain? All those. They turn up expecting to be able to ask those questions at the door. Yeah, I think we all know, those of us who've done the job, know that the pressures that then appear at the door, you're running late from previously, the buyer is running late, they've got to run on to another viewing, you've got to run on to another viewing. So then the qualification gets pushed back again until you then have done the viewing, you've given the buyer exactly what they wanted without any qualification whatsoever. And then you never get to talk to them again because they know they're not going to buy the thing that they rang in about. And that misses some fundamental parts of the business of being an agent.
A lot of people say that we're in the people business, but by the sounds of what you're saying, that's taking out the people element. In fact, do you actually need any negotiators? You can almost book it in yourself.
Well, There are models that basically entirely relied upon that, weren't there? When we look towards that online only model that has slightly been and gone, I would suggest, the human element was the bit that was missing. But also the agent must be able to represent the vendor's best interests from the outset. Doing a viewing is not just a case of, oh, can we come and do a viewing? People go out of their way to tidy up the house, take the dog for a walk, take the kids to the park, whatever it is, for a viewing. And so if that viewing is just somebody who should not really be looking around the house anyway, because they've not got the money to buy it, it's also not suitable for them. But if they don't talk to the agent can't engage with them, how could they possibly know?
Do you think this could be solved if estate agents weren't targeted on viewings?
Well, yes, I do 100% agree with that. Absolutely right. But I think that targeting of viewings comes from a deeper understanding from vendors as much as it does from their own senior management, because the vendor is still
Judging an estate
agent on the number of viewings that.
So not only do we have to educate ourselves in the way we act as estate agents, but we also need to educate our vendors. The problem is that we're one of three agents trying to get the house on the market, and we've got to give it the BS to get the house.
100% right.
Do you think you're tainted? And I don't say that in a bad way, but do you think you're tainted in the fact that you are a upper echelon market estate agent um, in central London?
When you say tainted, what do you mean
I
exactly?
don't mean tainted as in a bad way, but the statistics show that in certain parts of the UK, like the north, 7 out of 10 houses that get put on, well, late 60s of the homes that get put on the market end up progressing through to exchange and completion where we all get paid. Yet in inner London, that number is knocking on the door of around 30%. So therefore, and in certain parts of London, it's down near as 20%. If estate agents are only selling 1 in 5 or 1 in 3 of the houses they're selling, do you think that's because? Do you think that they're using viewings as a way to retain the viewings, or not retain the viewings, retain the listing, and prove that they're the best agent?
Yeah, almost certainly. That wouldn't surprise me.
So
Wouldn't shock me.
why are only 1 in 3 houses in London actually ending up selling when the national average is 54, and in the north it's late 60s?
I think there's an element, and I don't wish to taint myself anymore, but I think there's an element of price differential, right? So the decision-making process that people will go through to buy a second home, a pied-à-terre, and or something at 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever that might be, is a somewhat longer journey than a lot of people would ordinarily go through. There are, of course, a lot more agents in central London competing for each other over a smaller area.
Okay, then I want to bring up. I'm not going to mention their names, but there are no, I'm going to pick the 5 biggest estate agents in London.
Yeah.
Okay, one of them is very well known for the posh end. Okay, so we'll just part them just for a second. Okay, because posh are more expensive. Your 2-3 million pounders are a bit more difficult to shift. But I just want to look at the 4 out of the 5 that are more normal London agents.
Right.
2 of them are corporate.
Yeah.
And 2 of them one's a franchise model, and the other one is corporately owned, but you wouldn't classify them as corporate. Let me cut to the chase. The 2 agents which are quite out and out hardcore corporate, who have got a hard-nosed reputation, probably only sell 27-28% of the houses they list, whilst the other 2 are at 50 and 54. So do you think there is a direct correlation between the type of estate agency and the way that they are targeted, which is quite obviously the big corporates, the act corporate, who I would suspect allegedly would be down that it's all about the viewings, versus the ones who are franchise or a bit more old school, they're selling twice as many houses. Do you think a lot of that is down to culture?
Hang on a second. I just want to check that I understand the question correctly. When you say, so when you're garnering a percentage of how much they sell,
Yes.
are you garnering that from, I mean, so let's say I'm a good high-end agent and I list 10,
Yes.
I'm going to sell 5 of them. Whereas if I'm a more core market, as we would call it in central London, and I'm listing 40, I might only sell 10.
Yeah.
So numbers matter fundamentally because you are dealing with scale, right? And you've got a certain number of people doing a certain number of viewings, certain number of inquiries that come in, and the system as is built, number of phone calls, number of desks occupied, how many viewings those people are doing per hour of those times that they're supposed to be doing, how many call outs they're doing, etc., etc. That manifests an end result. But also there is less competition at that higher end for that vendor to go somewhere else and therefore not to sell, right? Whereas down in the core end of the market, I think vendors are probably much more, they've got more to choose from and they've got an ability to move quicker because there's somebody else nearby.
But remember,
who will also be
we are
shipping
looking
them.
at the 5 biggest estate agents by volume.
Right.
So, putting aside the really posh one, which I did take out, the others are just normal core market agents.
Oh, core market only. Well, I think it will depend on culture sitting in within that group. It will sit on the targeting of the valuers who are going to market, and are they
Should
targeted?
valuers be paid for listings?
I think they should be paid on success.
Is that a listing bonus? KPI bonus on market share?
No, I think as a valuer, so if they're corporate in the way that I understand that you're talking about it, there is a team who are generating a lot of these valuations for them. The valuers are then going out, coming back with what they win and giving it to the negs who then do the call out. A valuer, in my humble opinion, should be not simply be bringing in instructions at 1% and a massive fee to win business. If your targets are generating that behavior, that's a problem for you as a brand. I think where they should be is they should be getting realistic pricing and getting proper fees for selling the house and doing the job correctly.
Do you think the lister should be the person that does all the vendor contact and negotiate all the offers?
I think that entirely depends on the scale of the individual office and also the skill set of that person. Some people are good at doing valuations, other people are better at having person-to-person relationships around managing and progressing deals. So I think there's no easy straight answer on that, I'm afraid.
Okay, let's bring it back to the original question. We said that the portals have ruined UK estate agency in a roundabout way. You in essence, you believe, due to the nature of portals, that it has affected certain firms with their actions and the way they target their team because of the market they're in and also the staff they have, and you think it's been detrimental?
I think it's led to a loss of skill. I think that young negs nowadays go through a process that doesn't require the same skill that it used to a long, long time ago. They're not having those conversations.
They're just listing it up, put it on Rightmove, press the button.
They're taking phone calls and opening doors.
Are we talking like black books and hot boxes here?
Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. That's even before my time. So
put your comments in the comment section. Do you believe what Rupert and I are saying, or are we talking a load of rubbish? Thank you for your time today, Rupert.